I always give away too much. It's like I've got no sense of touch.
Hey Lifer Tribe, happy Thursday and happy October 5th. Alright y'all, so I'm going to try this VlogTober thing, and today is October 5th, so yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 days of October I've already missed. But to be quite honest with y'all, I was a little overwhelmed by the whole thing of vlogging every day because I've never done that. I missed Vlogmas last year because I had so much going on and I still was working my corporate government contract and working 7 days a week, whatever. Didn't do it. And so I was determined, or am determined, to do Vlogmas this year. But I thought, what better way to kind of practice and get myself, you know, acclimated to vlogging every day than to try VlogTober. And so, better late than never. I'm here. We gonna do this thing. I don't know exactly what's gonna go down, but I know it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a learning experience for me, and hopefully there's some entertainment and value for y'all. So let's just jump into it. So I figured today, since I already owed y'all a story time from the altercation, confrontation, whole thing that happened on my Harmony of the Seas Royal Caribbean cruise, I might as well start that story time today with our first VlogTober video. And y'all, if you have not already jumped over to TikTok to watch that whole story time, it's crazy, but I must say it has really launched the TikTok channel, because the TikTokers, they be there for some drama. But anyway, so I'm getting ready for today. I have a couple of Zoom meetings today. I don't really have anything out of the house. I need to do some writing and things like that. So this is going to be a work at home day. I don't think we have anything. So y'all are just going to hang with me throughout the day as I take care of what I need to take care of. And I'm going to tell you the story throughout the day. So how's that sound? Great? Great. All right. So I did my cleansing already, so my face is clean. So I'm just going to chat with y'all while I finish up my skincare and just kind of do a little, very, very little light makeup for these Zoom calls, so at least they can see my face. So let's get into this story. All right, so I was on the cruise ship and I decided that I was going to take part in their Royal Voice contest, which is just a karaoke contest, and they kind of do it like The Voice. So there's rounds and there's judges. So the first night I took part in that. I sang Natalie Cole Inseparable, I think, or At Last, one of the two. But I sang and I made it to the finals. So when you sing in the first round, the judges score everyone. And if you're in the top, I can't remember how many, I think the top 3, then you go to the finals and you don't have to compete in round 2. So round 1 went through, and your girl, you probably saw in a previous vlog, and if you have not already, go check it out. But I got perfect 10. So all 3 judges gave me a 10. One of the judges actually gave me a 10 plus, which was super cool. And shout out to you if you're watching the vlog. I cannot remember her name, and I think I remember, but I don't want to say the wrong name. But anyway, so I made it to the finals automatically. So the second day of the competition, I decided to go just to support. I had kind of chatted with a couple of people from the first night who didn't make it to the finals, so they were going to be competing the second night. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come check you out, whatever. And so that's what I did. However, we had another show or dinner right before. So let's say it started at 7. We didn't get there until like 7:15. Well, by this time, the venue, which is On Air on that ship, that's the name of the venue, On Air. It's a small venue, a smaller venue. It's not like the Royal Theater or anything like that. So it's a small venue. It's more like a bar. And so when we got there, there were tons of people already in there standing up. Not a lot of empty seats, maybe one seat here, one seat there, but it was both my husband and I. So we just decided we were just going to stand over by the bar and entry to the venue and just watch and wait and see if any seats opened up, because y'all know on the cruise ship people are rocking and rolling, moving and shaking the whole time, because none of this stuff is extra, right? So you pay for your cruise, but all of the shows, the venues, whatever, they're complimentary. So I say that to say you're not committed like to stay. It's not like you paid your $30 for your seat and so you're going to stay. So it's just like, you know, going to a club or restaurant, whatever, people are kind of turning over. They might sit there for 15 minutes, then they leave. So there's a chance, even though it's packed and standing room only, that a seat will open up. So as we're standing there, let me just explain that the back of this venue has a long, like couch type of seat. So it's a booth, but the seat is continuous, and then there's just some high top tables kind of placed sporadically throughout. So as we were standing there, I happened to look back and saw that there was a good portion of this extended booth that appeared to be empty. There was no one sitting there. And the reason why I say appeared to be empty, because there were no butts in the seat, no purses on the seat, nothing like that, but there were things on the table. The table was messy. So there were glasses on the table. None of them appeared to be full, but some of them still did have some beverage in them. There were, you know, little plates on the table, but again, food half eaten. So there was just no way of knowing if anyone was sitting there, because it's not like it's a fast food restaurant or a buffet or something where you clear your own table. So people, you know, could have just gotten up, and because it was crowded, the wait staff just hadn't had a chance to clear the table yet. So I start to walk back to that table. Now my husband is still standing in the front, and he just kind of, you know, is watching me to see, because I didn't say anything to him. I think I just kind of tapped him and pointed, and so he was just watching as I went back. So as I go back, you know, I don't really notice what my husband's doing, but he didn't come with me. I think he took a couple of steps, just kind of like, okay, if that table is free, I want to be on my way, so, you know, I can join you, whatever. So I start walking back to the table. I get back there, nobody's sitting down. I kind of look at the whole setup with the stuff on the table, and I make the determination that no one's sitting there. So I sat down. My butt barely hit the seat when a young lady who was standing like maybe 3 feet away from the table and over to the side, standing with her camera up as if, I guess, she was filming whatever was going on the stage, the person who was performing on the stage, and she just kind of turns around. I guess she caught me in her peripheral. So, you know, she noticed that somebody had sat down. So she turns around and says, "I'm sorry, we're sitting there." And I wasn't sure that's what she said, but I was pretty sure, you know, that's what she said, but it's loud in there. So I was like, "I'm sorry, what did you say? Somebody sitting here?" And she said, "Yes, we're sitting there." So I just kind of look, and I don't see a we're. It's kind of hard to, you know, because again, people are just standing up, but there's nobody standing like right next to her, and there's still nobody by the table. But I'm not about to argue and fight over this seat, you know, and that's one thing on cruise ships and anywhere where it's kind of like first come, first serve, not assigned seats. You know, you have the seat savers, and that's an issue. And if you watch any of the like cruise vlogs, or you know, the ones that are dedicated cruise vlogs, or the cruise bloggers or whatever, or join any of the cruise Facebook groups, you will see that one of the main complaints people have is the people who they call chair hogs. But your girl is not gonna be fighting and causing a scene over seats. So she says we're sitting there. I look around, I don't see who Weir is, so I don't know if Weir is here already, if Weir is in the room getting dressed and they're coming down. But at this point, it's irrelevant. It's none of my business. I'm not going to go back and forth, as my son used to say when he was a baby. I just got up. So I get up. But when I get up, I start walking towards my husband, and I say out loud to myself, and maybe even, like, I hate the fact that I'm even explaining this so deep, but I'm telling y'all, TikTok got me shook because they just was trying to victim blame during this whole story. So now as I'm telling the story, I'm like, let me make sure I hit every detail. But my YouTube peeps, y'all love me. We're actually a tribe, a family. TikTok, they cutthroat, they ruthless over there. However, there have been some TikTok people who have joined the tribe, so let's welcome them to the tribe. And there was a lot of support on TikTok too, and that's what I want to be more intentional about, is bringing the energy to those who were supportive, because those numbers were a lot bigger. And it's just something that we were guilty of a lot of times. You focus more on the negative, and that's not right, because the negative was not the huge numbers, you know what I mean? But those are the ones that just kind of hit. But anyway, I'm just trying to make sure I get the story completely detailed for y'all and don't miss anything. So as I'm walking towards my husband, now by this time, again, I told you, this lady is like 2 arms lengths away from me when she says it. So I'm already a distance from her. I get up, I turn to walk and take a few steps and say, dang, you know, I had no idea that table would be full and there's no one sitting there. So again, didn't go off, wasn't directing it at no one or anyone, because I didn't know that anybody was sitting there in the first place, and there was no one by that lady, so no way for me to be directing that comment at anyone because I'm turning away. But as I turn away, take the step, make that comment, then there is a man who turns around and decides to interject himself into the conversation. And yeah, I got to get ready to jump on this Zoom, so I'm going to stop right here, and I'll pick y'all back up right after this Zoom meeting and proceed with the story. Hold tight. All right, y'all. So you know I can't start meetings without my coffee, so I'm going to try to get more into the story while I make this coffee, and then we're going to jump on the Zoom call. So anyway, I walk by, I make the comment that, and hey, it's pumpkin season. 0 sugar, pumpkin spice, international delight. We're going to frost some up. So I'm walking by, and I make the comment, talking out loud to myself, because again, I have no idea who is sitting at the table at this point besides this lady who wasn't even sitting at the table. So yeah, I'm frustrated, but I'm not talking to anybody because who am I talking to? But I make the comment. So I make the comment as I'm walking back, and this man turns around and says, "You heard what the F she said, keep walking." And he now is turned towards me, but in that same position, body facing forward, camera in hand, up in the air like he's filming. So at that moment, I kind of realized, okay, I guess they're together, but they're not standing together. Like, there was no way for her to even hear the dialogue between the two of us. That's how far apart they were. But that's what he says. He turns around and says, "You heard what the F she said, keep walking." Now, mind you, I am already walking at this point, which is the only reason he was able to hear me. And I don't know why or how he even heard her, but he probably didn't hear her, but he saw her turn, because he knows they're together. I don't know they're together. So he probably saw her, you know, have an exchange with me and just assumed that she was letting me know that they were in those seats. So I stop in my tracks because I'm caught off guard. I'm shocked. I'm angry, because this is a grown man who has decided to take it upon himself to confront me over virtually nothing, like a seat. And it's not like I walked away fussing and cussing and, you know, talking crazy. All I said is, dang, I wouldn't have thought that those seats were taken because no one was sitting there. So I asked what now seems like the dumbest question in the world, but again, your girl was in shock. So I said, "Are you talking to me?" And then he says, "Yeah, I'm talking to you. You heard what the F she said, keep walking." Y'all, when I tell you I literally like lost all ability to breathe for a moment. And mind you, my husband is across the way because he saw me go to the seat, but now he sees me get up and move and start walking back towards him. So he realizes, oh, you know, the seat must be taken, or she changed her mind, whatever. And because this wasn't any loud, rah-rah, crazy, disruptive exchange, he has no idea. And of course, we're grown people, so he's not going to assume that somebody is getting smart with me or I'm having some kind of issue. So he's just kind of waiting for me to walk back over there. And, you know, later on in the story, as I tell y'all, my husband actually saw me and thought that maybe the guy was saying, oh, nobody's sitting there or we are getting ready to leave. Like, he never thought that anybody would be approaching me in such an aggressive and harsh and disrespectful manner. So yeah, that was a whole thing. But anyway, my coffee's just about finished and I gotta jump on this Zoom call because it's 10:01 and the call starts at 10 o'clock, but Wallace is jumping on. But let me get in there. I'll be right back. All right, y'all. So the first 2 meetings of the day are over and I'm sitting down to start writing because I am working on this book. But I didn't forget about y'all, so the story continues. So I think I left off where the guy turns around and says to me, you heard what the F she said, keep walking. I ask him, is he talking to me? He boldly says, yes, I'm talking to you. You heard what the F she said, keep walking. So at this point, totally stunned, shocked, and almost paralyzed. Like I told y'all, I felt like I had stopped breathing in that moment. I am a person who used to be very reactive to disrespect. Now, never was I the person, and people, you know, who have known me my whole life, I'm sure will vouch for me when I say, never am I going to be the person to start stuff. I am not at all confrontational. I am more likely to just kind of let stuff slide, things build up before I even say anything. I try to avoid confrontation. However, when something is presented to me in that fashion, it is very hard for me to just accept it because it's not okay. However, with maturity, with going through therapy, with going through all of the certification courses that I need and ended up being a life coach, soft skills expert, emotional intelligence expert, I am now very good at responding to people without emotion or just ignoring things and not responding at all. However, that was something that I had not dealt with in decades, as far as someone to be that rude, that bold, and just that out of line. So it caught me off guard, and for several moments, I was not sure how I was going to respond. So here's how the self-talk was. In my mind, it's like, Stae, did you just hear what he said? And he made it clear that he was talking to you. Okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to pick up this chair and hit him with it? Are you just going to walk away? Are you going to do the hootie hoo and get your husband over here? Like, what are you going to do? I'm not sure. What are we going to do? Like, all of this is going through my mind in that moment because, y'all, your girl wasn't sure. Like, it was crazy to me because nothing warranted that type of reaction from him. So as this self-talk is going on in my mind, what comes out of my mouth, because I know that he cannot hear what's going on in my head. So I literally say to this man, please stop talking to me. You're going to have to give me a minute to collect myself before I walk away, because you don't understand how difficult this is for me in this moment. I am not someone who is easily jarred, who is easily rattled, but your level of disrespect, this is hard for me right now in this moment. So just give me a minute. He says, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're trying to do, but you need to get out of my face, lady. okay. So then there's that other moment, like, okay, you hitting me again. You kicking me when I'm down. Like, I'm telling you, like, I'm trying to throw up the white flag, but you just have to give me this woo-saw moment before I can turn around, because there is everything within me trying to force me to turn around, but there's still that little small part of me that's just like, no, I'm gonna have to address this. But it's like, no, you can't. No, you have too much to lose. No, you know, you're a mature woman. He's not worth it. So there's that tug of war. And I'm like, hey, you're the emotional intelligence expert. You're the life coach. You're bigger than this. But then there's just that little part who's like, but you know, sometimes people need to be knocked down a peg or two. So in that moment, I realized, okay, he's not going to let up. And this is a man, a grown man. However, the part that I'm also leaving out, even in his grown manness, he probably was only about 30, 35. So my oldest child is 32. So you are about the age of my oldest child, which means that I could be your mama. I could at least be your auntie. And I'm sure you see these grays in my head. And so not only am I a woman, I'm an older woman. I'm a seasoned woman. And you felt that comfortable to talk to me that way over nothing. And so the Holy Spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, that still small voice spoke to me and said, you know what to do. Walk away. Don't say another word. And do not mention this to your husband. At least don't tell him what really went down. And so luckily, that's the voice I listened to. And so I'm like this the whole time, like just trying to breathe. And I've already asked this man to just leave me alone. I'm like, hey, yeah, I want to do exactly what you're telling me to do. I want to walk away, but I'm stuck. My feet are in cement right now. Give me a minute. But when I was able to clearly hear that small, still voice of reason in my mind, I was able to turn, walk away. And my walk to my husband seemed like it took forever, but it was just the right amount of time that I needed to gain my composure and now be able to present this to my husband in a way where he's not going through the same thing I just went through with that tug of war in his mind. Because of course, my husband's first reaction is going to be to defend me. Like he's going to want to approach this man and give him some let know, you know, and who knows what that can turn into. And I already know my husband has too much to lose. It's not worth it. All of that just went through my mind, I'm now thinking for him. So I know that I have the opportunity though to change that narrative for him, because he didn't witness exactly what went on. He just sees me having an exchange, but again, it's not heated. There's no fingers in the face. This guy literally the whole time, he probably has it all on camera, at least the audio, because he still had his phone up in the air. So it's not real animated, thank God. So my husband just sees that I'm having a conversation. So, but because he knows me very well, when I get to him, his first words to me were, first of all, are you okay? Because I guess I still couldn't get this together. I have it together in my head, like, okay, this needs to end here. You don't need to share this with him exactly what happened. But I guess my face, it hadn't connected the dots yet. So I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. And my tone wasn't completely adjusted yet. So he's like, well, you don't sound good. So his next question was, what did he say to you? And I'm like, nothing. They were just saying that those seats are taken. And he was like, okay, but what exactly did he say? And I said, babe, nothing. And he said, but you seem upset. And so I'm like, I'm just upset, just a little frustrated because it's just weird. And I just kind of repeated that same out loud comment that I made that got this grown man all riled up. I just said, I'm just a little frustrated that, you know, people were saving seats and there's nobody sitting there, but you know, it's not a big deal. And so I was able to keep my composure and not give my husband the full information. And again, not promoting lying to your spouse, keeping things from your spouse, but when you're in a partnership, it is our responsibility to protect each other. I know as a woman, it was not easy for me to walk away from being disrespected and talked to in that way, especially like when I did nothing at all to deserve it. So I know for my husband to know that not only did that man talk to me that way, but I kept it together and didn't clap back. That's going to be even more reason because he's going to feel bad because he knows how I am. So I know he would have known that that was a struggle for me. And so I'm going to protect my husband. It's not worth it. It's not worth the possibility of him getting hurt because you never know what people might do. Like, I'm not that person who's like, oh yeah, my husband would have whooped him, whatever. That's not the world we living in. Like, you people are using weapons. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth our reputation. It wasn't worth the risk of being kicked off the cruise at the next port, even though the next port was Miami. And that was the thing too. Luckily, this was our last, was it the last sea day or the night before? But we didn't have any more ports of call. So we were going to be on the ship at least for the next 2 days. But still, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth being banned from being able to cruise on Royal Caribbean. It wasn't worth, you know, possible headlines, you know, CEO and president of ISAL. Like, it's not worth it. And so I chose in that moment not to fully share with my husband the extent of that exchange because I was protecting him. I was protecting us. And so luckily, as God would have it, we did not run into these people for the next day and a half. And I kind of just, you know, put it out of my mind as best I could because it wasn't that deep. It was one of those things that really stung in the moment. But, you know, after hanging out, laughing, joined back up with my sister and her husband, and I had told my sister what happened, and she was like, yeah, that was crazy, but no, definitely wasn't worth it. So glad you're okay. So glad you handled it the way. So I at least got to talk about it with her and just kind of process it. And we didn't run into them anymore during the cruise, which made it a lot easier. And that's something that I just kind of prayed for. I'm like, I do not want to keep running into these people. However, let me back up a little bit. My husband and I kind of had our dialogue still standing where we had initially been standing. And so I also didn't want to tell my husband, like, let's just go, let's just leave, because that's going to be a telltale sign. Like, okay, you like karaoke, you were here to watch. Why do you want to leave? Something more must have been said than what you're telling me. So we stood there for a couple of more performances. And what I noticed, because now I'm trying to pay attention to this man and this woman at this table, because I'm still unclear as to who we are, who's sitting there. Because again, it was a wide space. So even if it was just the two of them, there was still room for 2, 3, 4 more people. So I'm paying attention. Well, what it ended up being is, as I told y'all, they had their phones up. They were recording the person who was performing, who was actually with them. She was with their party, with their group. So when she finished singing, she came back to that table and sat down. And then it appeared that there were a couple of other people throughout. I guess they were trying to get her from up every angle, who once she was finished, now there's like 4 or 5 people sitting there. So the table was fully occupied. I'm fine with that. And, you know, looking at it now, it's like they weren't even necessarily people who were trying to save seats. They were there, they were recording, they were just up for the moment. That's all good. Hold on, my phone is ringing. Where is my phone? I hear it, y'all, but hold on. Hello, this is Stae. Can I help you? All right, y'all. Sorry about that. But anyway, so they weren't necessarily trying to save seats. They had just kind of scattered, you know, to be able to record, you know, the performance, which was funny because the young lady who was up there singing, I don't think she was really serious. She was just, you know, up there for the fun, whatever. You know, she wasn't singing the song seriously, doing a lot of dancing and, you know, kind of crawling on the floor, whatever. It's all for fun. But it was like, okay, y'all weren't necessarily saving the seats. But again, I wasn't trying to cause a fuss either. No one was sitting there at the time. No one was sitting, I mean, even standing close to the table. You said the table was occupied. I got up. You just happened to hear me make a comment, which wasn't even a derogatory comment, a confrontational comment. I wasn't, you know, like literally I was just thinking out loud, more like I just wasted my steps. Like it just wasn't that big of a deal. And so that is pretty much the gist of the story. However, when I decided to tell the story on TikTok, y'all, it was so funny how many people immediately jumped to victim blaming and jumped to racial type of things. Like, as I'm talking to y'all now, I have not mentioned, nor will I mention the race, ethnicity of this man. Because guess what? It's not important. What happened, happened, and I believe that that same thing could happen no matter what race someone is, because some people respond to things appropriately, some people don't. Some people know how to act in public, some people don't. Some people have respect for one another, some people don't. I think that's just a people thing. You just have different kind of people. Race plays no part. But so many people on TikTok wanted to make it about race. There were so many comments because, of course, it's clear of my race when people see my face. So there were comments like, why do black people always seem to get in altercations on vacation? Black people need to have their own cruise line. Oh, this must be Carnival Cruise Line where all the black people go. Why? And you know, or they didn't say must be, but you need to be on Carnival Cruise Line where all the black people go. Why are y'all bringing this stuff to Royal Caribbean? And those comments were so saddening and so disheartening to me, because it is just very, very sad that we still live in a world and a day and age in 2023 where there are still groups and pockets of people who want to make things about race when race plays absolutely no factor. Like, it didn't matter to me what that man's race was. I was still going to feel the same way. Disrespect is disrespect. Inappropriate behavior is inappropriate behavior. It's not going to make it any better or worse for me what the race is. Like, I'm not going to accept it better if it's from this race, or, you know, that was just crazy. And then there were the people who were accusing me of being passive aggressive and a troublemaker. Now, I said clearly in the story, these people who were saying that they were occupying the table were nowhere near the table. Again, in hindsight, they were up, they were recording and planning on coming right back to the table as soon as she was done singing. Like, no big deal. There was just no way for me to know that ahead of time. However, with that being said, the way they were scattered about the venue, there was no way for me to know who, except for the woman who originally told me that the table was taken. There was no way for me to know who belonged to that table. So how could I have been passively aggressively making a comment intentionally for this man to hear me when I didn't even know he had anything to do with the table? And I couldn't say that enough times. Like, I responded to a couple of people's comments like, no, that's not what happened. There were people who, you know, decided to comment and said, you know, black women are always so aggressive. Black women are always so confrontational. Black women think that they can talk to men any kind of way. Like, that is the stuff that really just kind of got under my skin in a way where it just made me sad. Like, why do we have to look at things in that way? Why are we always so quick to blame the person who's been offended and say that somehow you deserve that behavior because of what you did, even though your action was so nothing? And again, I'm not making excuses for myself. It's just the truth. Like, I did not know. I didn't even notice that man at all until he turned around and said something to me. I mean, I was completely caught off guard. And so that's another point to the whole story. Had I been saying that intentionally, whether it was passive aggressively or not, I'm old enough to know, and I've been around long enough to know and have experienced enough to know that when you do things like that, make those passive aggressive comments, you know, you say the quiet thing out loud, you can expect sometimes to get some feedback that's not so friendly. It's a chance you take. So I wouldn't have been quite as stunned and shocked had it been something that I did intentionally, because you can make those out loud comments, those passive aggressive comments, and sometimes people respond and sometimes they don't. But for me, I would be prepared either way. So the fact that I was completely stunned, shocked, beside myself is a telltale sign that it wasn't a passive aggressive comment that I wanted someone to hear, because I'm actually the type of person that's like a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. My thing is, if you feel like you need to say something to someone, if you want to have a discussion, if you want to have a conversation, then just say it. Don't just drop little hints, little comments. So that's not at all what I was trying to do. And it would have made no sense, because I didn't even notice that man. Like, he was not, it wasn't. And I was walking away from the woman who was already a little bit behind me. So there was no way for her to hear it. It's just like, it's just sad. And again, coming from the space of emotional intelligence and soft skills, empathy is one of the things that I teach the most and coach the most. And when you have the ability to empathize and put yourself in someone else's shoes, then you're less likely to judge, and you're able to see things through a clearer and broader lens, and be able to give people even the benefit of the doubt. Like, everything that's said and done is not necessarily something said or done to cause problems. I mean, there were people who said, oh, I can just tell by your demeanor you start stuff. And I'm like, what? And clearly you've consumed no other content of mine, because on TikTok as well as YouTube, I'm about uplifting, motivating, encouraging. Like, who got time at 51 years old to be starting stuff? And with who? People I don't even know. Like, that makes no sense. So it was just really sad. The only good thing that came of it is the fact that the video did blow up. It's like at 600 some thousand views right now. Part 2 is like at 160, 70,000 views. And there were way more people in support of me, way more people who understood, way more people who were like, I applaud you, hats off to you, you handled that well. You have a follower for life now, Team Lifer Tribe. So that was the bulk of the comments. And I went from like 1,400 followers on that day that I posted the video to I'm over 10,000 followers now. So that's what it's about. That's what it's for, because I truly believe that the people who followed me are not the people who were making the negative comments. Those are people who found my content and decided that they wanted to stick around for more. So for that, I am so grateful. It's just sad though that as we're on these platforms and trying to grow our social media presence, trying to grow our tribe, trying to find our people, that unfortunately it's the, I guess, more negative things that draw more people. And through that negativity though, you still find your people, you find your place. But I post on TikTok every day, sometimes twice a day. And I was not thinking about this video in any other way than I do the other ones, because really my main reason for posting was just to show that we all have times where we can be triggered. No matter what your expertise is, no matter what age you are, certain things can trigger you, but we always have the ability to, in that moment, make a choice. Are we going to revert back to poor behavior? Are we going to be immature? Or are we going to do what we know is right? And that it's always good to take that moment before you react to kind of process it in your mind as to what response are you going to be comfortable with afterwards. Because of course, the thing that makes you the most comfortable in the moment is not necessarily the right thing to do. And so that's the only reason I was sharing it. But I really had no expectation. I definitely didn't think, oh yeah, this is going to be the video that's going to blow my TikTok up. But, you know, I'm grateful that it was, but it's just sad that it had to come with a lot of negativity with it. But yeah, so that's the story. I'm sticking to it. That's what happened. And it was an unfortunate situation, but it wasn't major. And that was another thing. You know, there were people who accused me of just making the whole thing up. And I was just like, if I was going to make something up, wouldn't it be a little grander than that? Like, maybe it would have ended in a barroom brawl. Like, that story, even though it affected me in a certain way and I felt it was worth sharing, it wasn't like creatively made up worth sharing. Like, you know what I mean? It just wasn't that deep. The story wasn't that deep. I felt like it was worth sharing, but it definitely wasn't something that I would want credit for. Like, oh, I made that up. I'm so creative. There were people who even accused me. It was like, oh, she don't have a husband. She was probably on a girl's trip and they just, you know, whatever, because she don't even have a ring on, which that was funny too, because I am left-handed. So when I make my TikToks, I always use my phone. And most of the time I'm holding my phone in my left hand that's where my ring is. So if I'm making the TikTok, you're not going to see my ring. And I talk with my hands a lot. So what you're seeing is my right hand without a ring. So that was so funny. The only time you're going to see my ring in a TikTok is when I have my phone on a stand or on the tripod, which is once in a blue moon. But yeah, people were like, she's not even married, you don't see a ring. And I'm like, yeah, you're not getting the whole mirror effect. That's not my left hand. Yeah, that's my right hand. But just the lengths people will go to try to discredit you, to try to hurt your feelings, I don't know. It's just weird. And I know that that's kind of what you sign up for when you decide to put your life out here on social media and share. And I have a thick skin. Like, I didn't take any of it personal, but it still just kind of made me feel sad for those people. Like, that's really what you're doing. You're just trolling social media and just looking for people to bash. It's just not a good look. And it's something I would never do. Like, I've seen so many TikToks, so many posts on this platform, that platform, where I'm like, that sounds crazy, that looks crazy. But I wouldn't dare make a comment to judge that person. Like, why would you do that? And if you really think that it's that big of a deal and you feel like you have something to lend to that person, some sort of advice, some sort of help, then slide in their DMs. Like, don't try to publicly shame somebody. Like, if you're really honest and genuine and feel that you have something to offer, you don't have to do it in public. And if you do decide to do it in public, there's ways to word things where they don't come off as an attack. So anyway, let me get off my soapbox. I just thought that this would be a great way to kick off our Vlogtober, because I'm committed. So I hope you guys are committed. It is really my desire to get something posted every day. And I know I can do it. I'm excited about doing it. I can't guarantee you that every single video is going to be full of tons of excitement, but we have some stuff going on. We're going to hit the state fair, because I have not been to the state fair since like 2007. And that's the only time that I've been to the state fair, because that was like the year I moved to Texas, or the year after. So we're going to do that. There is a midnight musical going on at one of my favorite churches, so I think we're going to go there. Yeah, so we got some stuff to do. We have some stuff to do. And, you know, when there's not a lot to do, I can always just chat with y'all. You know, I love our conversations. But anywho, thank you so much for sitting through this whole story. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback on how you think I handled it, what you think about the whole situation, what you think about the people on TikTok. And if you are a TikToker, go ahead and jump over on TikTok. I would love to have you be a part of that extended lifer tribe over on TikTok. But yeah, let's chat about it in the comments. I feel like the conversation will be a little different here on YouTube, because we're a family over here, but I definitely want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this. But as always, you know I love you guys to bits and pieces. I appreciate you so much for tuning in and being a part of this wonderful lifer tribe. For those of you who just happened to stumble across us today, welcome, welcome, welcome. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also that notification bell, so that you will be notified every time new content drops. And y'all know the drill. Be kind and love one another, but never stop living your life. LYFE. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Oh, by the way, this is after the fact, Stae. I did end up telling my husband what happened once we got home. And of course, he was a little like, why didn't you tell me? But I explained it to him and he completely understood. And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I would have handled it, but it would have been tough, because I definitely would have wanted to approach him. So he completely understood why I didn't tell him at that time. Right, babe? As you're being squeaky and opening and closing doors. Ain't that how you felt? yeah, so he understood. So yeah, we're a team. We're a team. So it took him a minute because he was like, really? I can't, you know, he looking around like, we're not there, babe. The guy's not here anymore. But he was still ready to, I'm fighting with these things. I'm ready to get these out. But yeah, so he understood. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
I always give away too much. It's like I've got no sense of touch. I'm always pouring out my heart. No, little by little here.